What if I told you that the very soul of music, the human touch, is under threat, and the culprit isn't some arch nemesis of the arts, but our very own creation, an entity not of flesh and blood, but of silicone and code. The journey into a future where artificial intelligence could potentially destroy the music industry. Oh, that was great. Hey everyone, I'm Cole Caparoon. Thank you for stopping by for another video. The AI monster that is ChatGPT actually wrote that intro for me. That's incredible. So before we get into the craziness that is AI in the music industry, let's take a look at what else ChatGPT wrote for me as an intro. Rhythmically clapping hands, a large friendly smile on his face. Hey there, music mavens and tech enthusiasts. It's your favorite tech-verse beat-chasing, rhythm-rhyming YouTuber, Colt Caparoon, back in the house for another mind-blowing episode. I just want that to set the tone for how competent AI actually is. This conversation of AI in the music industry and AI in general taking all of our jobs from us, it's not exactly a new conversation. However, there's been a lot of developments over the past year and really over the past couple months that might make us change our minds on this. So I was at GearFest at Sweetwater about a month ago, and GearFest is like a mini NAMM show for like YouTubers and TikTokers, and I spent a few days there meeting with a bunch of companies and looking at a bunch of new products and filming a bunch of videos. But there was one product that made me completely stop and say, I'm gonna make a video about this right now. So this product is called the Chatbreaker. It's an overdrive pedal for guitarists made by Rev. Now I'm gonna be real honest, I have no real desire to make a video on a guitar pedal. However, the story behind this pedal was pretty incredible and led to this entire concept for this video. But we're gonna get to that in a minute. There's been so much talk lately about artificial intelligence ruining entire industries. And it can be a little bit fearful when you really start digging into it and seeing how crazy AI has become just recently. So after seeing this guitar pedal that was designed by ChatGPT, yes, ChatGPT designed this guitar pedal, and we're gonna get to that again in a minute. It got me thinking, what other musical things are happening? I need to get up to speed on what all is happening with AI in music. And so I started digging. Now I think the most notable change is the fact that there are a whole bunch of websites now. I'll link a couple down below. There's a whole bunch of websites now that you can input a few moods or characteristics or tempos, and it will spit out a song that's just for you, which is kind of nuts. So I went through a bunch of these, and I'm going to be honest with you, they're garbage. They're not any good. The only thing I could ever see using some of this music for is maybe for some basic songwriting. If you can't play any instruments and you want to get a certain style or vibe of an instrumental so you can write lyrics and melodies too, I could see a place for that, but the music was so vanilla. And the only thing I could see it being truly useful for is background music on YouTube videos or, you know, maybe background music in a commercial for something. But as of right now, actual music creation, like the production of music, I'm not concerned with it at all. It is not threatening to me in the slightest. But will it be one day? Hang tight on that one. Now the next version of AI that I thought was really interesting, but this is old news, is the mastering services like Landar. Now whenever these services first started coming out, there was just this ripple through the entire the studio side of the music industry, and everyone thought that mastering engineers were gonna lose their jobs. This many years later, I haven't seen that happen. I haven't seen any mastering engineers really throw in the towel, and the quantity of mastering work that I do hasn't went down at all. Now, I think mastering might be the easiest part of music to automate with artificial intelligence, but I still think it doesn't have that human touch that taste, the imperfections, the non-linearities that humans have. And so for that reason alone, and it's been around for this long, I don't see it as a threat. But then we get to the story of this Chatbreaker pedal from Rev. It's a fascinating story where they literally decided to let ChatGPT design the circuitry for an overdrive pedal. Now, I do want to talk about the future of the entire music industry, but you gotta check this out first. My good friend Sean Tubbs joined me, who's an incredible guitarist, great YouTuber. I'll link his channel down below to give me the background and give me some sound examples on it. Let's check that out real quick. Sean.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining me.
Of course.
I appreciate
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Give me the ridiculous backstory of this pedal.
Okay. Yeah, it is kind of ridiculous. Basically, what happened was the guys at Rev had this idea of, what would happen if we asked ChatGPT to design an overdrive? And it was just honestly for giggles. It was just, they were being kind of funny. It was an experiment. Let's see what it spits out. And of course, down the rabbit hole, 4 hours of no overdrive pedal, no guitar overdrive pedal. So 4 hours later, it ends up spitting out a design. It gives you a design, and it actually gave us a part list.
Wow.
And when we got it and presented it to Dan Trudeau, the head designer, he looked at it and was just like, I can tell this is maybe a blues breaker circuit, but this thing won't even turn on. It's just not going to work. But Dan being Dan, it's like, let me fix it. Let me, sort it out. Let me put all the right components in. I know it's a blues breaker circuit. Let me do some of my magic to it. Let's just see how it sounds. And even then, it was still just experiment. It's like, let's just see where it lands and see what it sounds like. And they finished it. They sent it down to me to check out. I plugged into it, and I was like, this is really fun to play. This thing actually sounds cool. It's like, I get that it's a blues breaker circuit, but it also has like dance tweaks on it.
Yeah.
And so I told them, hey, it sounds great. So then it was like, okay, well, we got to get this thing out in the wild. So what do we call it? And so we knew it was a blues breaker circuit. So that's where the whole Chatbreaker thing came from, all the way down to the font and the colors.
Oh.
Yeah, that's why it's that color. Yeah.
That's awesome.
But yeah, that's what it is. And then we decided to just do like really limited. So we're only doing 200 of them for Sweetwater. Yeah.
Okay.
And then I think we'll go up to 500, but that will be worldwide. Those will be allocated for overseas.
Got it.
So yeah, it's a pretty limited run of these. But yeah, it came out sounding great. It's really fun. It's definitely blues breaker, but it's got a way broader tone range than a blues breaker would have. It cleans up better. Now, a real blues breaker amp really cleans up. Sometimes a blues breaker pedal, not so much. You roll the volume off, it gets a little dark. Yeah. This won't do that. That's a Dan Trudeau thing.
Got it.
It does have just a little bit more gain, but not much. We wanted to stay kind of true to that amount of gain in the circuit. We thought about actually gaining it out, but then it's like, but it's blues breaker circuit.
Right.
We need to stay, somewhat in that lane.
Yes.
Even though we're letting Dan kind of add his touches, we definitely wanted to stay in that lane.
What little I know about it, the only way to get good stuff out of ChatGPT is in learning how to prompt it the right way.
Yeah, I wasn't there when they did it, but that sounds like that's what was going on.
Okay.
It would either give us something that was just completely wrong.
Yeah.
And we'd have to be like, no, not stereo receiver. No, not dishwasher, not toaster, guitar, overdrive pedal. But it was interesting, because, with AI, it's like it kind of got it wrong. I mean, it figured out, okay, overdrive, what's the most, and I thought, well, it'll be a tube screamer, that's what it's going to find.
Sure.
But no, it actually decided blues breaker, but it did get it wrong. Like, it got the circuit fairly close, but the parts list was not so much,
Wow.
So yeah, it was just a cool, really just fun, and it wasn't even meant to, go live and be out in the wild. It was just kind of a fun, what would happen?
Yeah.
But it just ended up sounding so good, we just wanted to get it out in the wild.
Have you guys thought about how that works with the IP side of things? The intellectual property?
Yeah, we're probably going to find out.
So that seems to me like a really interesting point about how we move forward with this. Because you're right. Now that it has that's what it's going to spit out.
This will be like, this is mine. Like, when we design an overdrive pedal, it's going to go, oh, the last one I did was this.
Yeah.
and it was me.
And it won't work like that one didn't work, but it'll spit out the same thing.
Something out like this, yeah. So it's going to be really interesting as that whole AI thing develops, within, especially intellectual property. It's like, that's an ever-changing. Those parameters are going to
evolve constantly.
Yeah. They're going to get narrow and then broad and then narrow. Yep. That's going to be interesting.
And especially because, I mean, theoretically, ChatGPT owns half of that design.
Co-designed it. Yeah.
He co-designed it.
Yeah, this is a co-design. It was ChatGPT's idea to do a bluesbreaker circuit.
Right.
And then Dan put his touch on it. And, ChatGPT didn't know how to do a bluesbreaker circuit, but it knew the circuit. It, like in the design, it was like, oh yeah, that's a bluesbreaker. So technically, it's a collaborator.
So AI is going to take all of our jobs. Mm-hmm. They're going to do a really bad job at it.
Yeah.
But thank you. I appreciate you so much.
Yeah, I appreciate you.
So yes, ChatGPT did design that overdrive pedal, and I think it sounds pretty good actually, but it didn't actually do a good job. It actually had to be modified by a human who had a skill set. And I think this is an important piece of information in this whole conversation. See, the thumbnail of this video, which is right here on the screen, I'll throw it up. I did that thumbnail with AI. The AI generative fill in Photoshop is pretty insane, especially for the right situations. But I still had to have the photo first. I still had to have the idea that came from my mind. I still had to prompt it over and over and over for hours to come up with this result. And I really wanted to get the thumbnail right for this video using AI, just as kind of like a principle. Like, can we just get some real good examples, some usable stuff from AI for this video? And it was difficult. It took hours, and I even still had to heavily modify the image after I got what I was like, okay, this is probably as good as it's gonna get. But my mind, my creativity, the thing that I wanted, and then learning how to prompt the AI in Photoshop, those are entire skill sets on their own. Now, I couldn't have designed that robot. I couldn't have drawn it. If I found a picture of it, I could have photoshopped it onto a picture of my studio. But, it still was, it's cool. It did not really help me all that much. So then we get into the conversation of, is AI really going to take our jobs from us? Are we going to lose the ability to make a living recording, producing, mixing, and mastering music because AI will eventually become so good that it will be more likely for someone to just use AI rather than to hire me and you? So I did some digging on this. And apparently, in the invention of the film camera, the photo camera, when photos first became a thing, there was a huge backlash against cameras. And the reason for this backlash is because they thought that no one would pay anyone to paint anything ever again, because they would just take a photo of it. A photo was better in every way, because back in the day, if you wanted a portrait, you had to hire a painter, and you would sit there real still while someone painted you for hours, and then that was your portrait. And that immediately overnight shifted to someone holding up a flash and going, psh, and sparks going everywhere, and then you get a photo of yourself that's actually a pretty authentic representation of you, rather than an artist's interpretation of you. And so the idea was that painters would be out of work, that no painters would have a career ever again. But I think fast forward to today, I think there are far more people making a living painting than there ever have been in history. And I would be curious to know the percentage of the population, because obviously there's way more people now. I would be curious to know the percentage of the population that makes a living at painting today versus the percentage of people that made a living painting in the 1700s. Because I'll bet there are a higher percentage number of painters now than there ever have been making a living at it. And you still have to have real skills. As a photographer, you still have to have the camera angles, you still have to have the knowledge of the camera, you still have tons of creativity in the sense of being a photographer, in the same way that you did as being a painter. They're completely different skill sets, but you do still have to have real skills to take really good photos. And the person behind the camera is still the one that makes the magic. And I think that this principle will continue on in music with AI. No matter how good AI gets, no matter how advanced it gets, you are still going to have to be the one that prompts it to do the thing. The magic, the creativity, the human side, the emotion still has to come from you and me. And even if we do get to the point where AI is going to be such a powerful option, there are always going to be people recording through real consoles to tape and printing to vinyl. That's never going to go away. Not in my lifetime anyway. There is one field where I think AI can wreak havoc in the world. And that is with like truck drivers, Uber drivers, taxi drivers. I drove a Tesla Model Plaid at NAMM a few months ago, and it was bananas how good it was at self-driving. That's an industry I think we need to be concerned with. Outside of that, I think AI is an extremely powerful tool, and I think if you learn how to use it and you use your creativity to prompt it, it can be a very powerful tool to help us create. But I don't see it taking our jobs anytime soon. Thank you so much, Sean Tubbs, for sitting down with me, playing through that pedal, and showing me what it's about, telling me the story. Thank you, Sweetwater, for having me out to GearFest. This video is sponsored by Sweetwater. You can check the links in the description below for literally everything that I use. And if you use any one of those links to purchase anything you need, anytime you need anything, it goes a long ways to help support this channel. So anytime you need a piece of gear or anything else, jump on any one of my videos, click on any one of the links, purchase anything you need, and it really helps me out, and I very much appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and get the thumbs up. Drop me a comment. Let me know what you think about this. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.